Where's everyone?
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon to our friends in Europe. I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. Now, normally you'd say, Mark, why aren't you looking so great? But I have chosen this outfit very specifically because I have not spoken to you guys since a certain man from a certain city who will one day go down as the greatest pontiff since Peter, a man who cheers on both the most powerful football team in all the great National Football League, and of course, 2005 World Series champions, the Chicago White Sox. And also cheers on a certain team that resides in Philadelphia, a team that has been named the greatest win in history. Of course, this team won the 2016 and 2018 national titles in basketball. Hey, Notre Dame, if you can't recruit in your own backyard, how you gonna start winning titles here? So, of course, I speak of one man. He is, of course, the pontiff, the bishop of the Vatican City. He is, of course, the Pope.
The Pope. I knew once this happened, we like Villanova grad, Chicago, like Sebastian, just like it was like manna from heaven for him. This is endless for the next 10 years.
That was awesome, Mark. Well done. I love it.
Hot wings are now a part of our religious meals. hot wings and
Hot
celebrating
Dude,
doubles.
Chicago beef. You got to get Long Portillo's right here.
Yeah, well, no,
it's Il Papa's home steak.
They're bringing out deep dish. They're bringing out deep dish communal hosts.
Easter pizza.
And we're gonna be replacing
Christian.
communal wine with beautiful, delicious old style.
The new drink in Rome is old style.
I love it. That's awesome.
All right.
I bet you and Debbie had a blast this weekend doing
those
that.
you unaware, Leisha is a pure South Sider, so
That's right.
That's why she's extra beaming today. And of course, I'm from Chicago. I went to Villanova. Andrew lived in Chicago for a good decade, and Toronto's kind of the Chicago's sister city in some ways. I like to think of it. So now that we've got the Pope jokes out of the way, let's dig into the actual market, because that's what everyone is paying attention to. And obviously big news over the weekend, right? The outline, a tariff de-escalation, call it an armistice, not an armistice, but a ceasefire, if you will, for a short period of time. Interestingly, China agreeing to hold that. I think a positive out of this is that, and where I think this is going, you'll notice that they both agreed to reciprocal 10% tariffs, but the U.S. was allowed to add an additional 20% for the fentanyl issue that's coming out of China. So what does that tell me? That tells me China's willing to play ball on the fentanyl thing, and part of their negotiating tactic is we will, that's a part of this thing, and they've signaled that that's a point they're willing to work on. With the reciprocal tariffs both coming down, I think that's going to probably de-escalate some of the Taiwan chatter. And not all the way, but I think it will de-escalate. I think that at least for the next 90 days, China is not invading Taiwan. And I think it is going to, kind of clear things up for a little bit. So with that, tagged yesterday, but happy Mother's Day. And I hope all the moms here had a great day yesterday. I know my greatest gift to my wife for Mother's Day was letting her relax while I drove the kids around. So that was her Mother's Day gift to me. All right, let's share my screen and take a look at where we are market wise. We have gapped. I mean, it's incredible where we gapped to. So we kind of blew through the 200, blew through the what is this? The 100, and kind of ran into like the 150-day moving average and stopped. And have just kind of sensed this is a really good area. And Alicia, I'm sure you're gonna have more on this. This is a really good area between kind of 57.50 and 58.20 for us to kind of bounce around in, if we don't bust out of here. This is a really good spot to chop. Several of us had kind of 5,800 as a potential ultimate goal here before we figure things out. Andrew, Andrew? You've got a big event coming up on Wednesday where you're going to be revealing your method for finding the best vol trade every week, among other things. The cash collision, we are calling it. And if you'd like to join us, register here.
I need Wonder Twin rings. So
yeah, we definitely want to see you there. So Andrew, what's your what are your takeaways coming out of China, U.S. trade negotiation?
Well, I mean, it seems like all of a sudden the world, other nations are like, China was like the high litmus test, right? They're like, okay, everybody's had, and basically, the way I look at it is this: everybody has had a good deal at the US's expense over the last 70 years. They've sold us a bunch of goods, everything, prices, all the economic stuff, great. Trump wanted a little slice of it. Nobody would give it to him. So he's like, screw you, I'm doing the tariff thing. He was serious. And now he's going to raise some money. And he got what he wanted. It looks like he's going to get what he wants. There's going to be a tariff regime set that's not too high, but it's something. And he made good on his campaign promise. He's going to move forward. Now, what does that do? Like, okay, do we march back? Do stocks start to march back up and vol come in? And I'm like, okay, well, we're trading at a 19 now. If we got a 90-day pause for tariffs, essentially, what happened the last time we had this in January or early February? Where did vol go? Went back to 13, 14 again. Because all of a sudden, what is everybody freaking out? Congress looks like they're going to cut some Medicaid spending or whatever. And the party goes on. So,
Yeah.
Ride some VIX puts. Volatility products will be very interesting. Of course, I'll talk about that Wednesday for, our subscribers here and your special situation subscribers, Mark. Holy crap. There's a couple of ones there. But
we just
But I think we're gonna have lower vol, and I think and those growth stocks and those I would say like industrial style stocks that were really suffering. Everybody's like, that's like all of a sudden, okay, yeah. I think you'll see. I think 16 VIX next week at this point.
All right, yeah. Well, and let's talk about what we've been doing here, giving to you for free here, folks. I want to show you this. These are the trades we've given you. All of these trades. Now, something flipped for us on, in the middle of the big crisis. We did a pair trade. That pair trade returned 83% on Apple puts, and this morning, almost 160% on Amazon calls. Hood, we've done 140%. IBM, Leisha's idea, we did 54. My Google, we did 48%. We made a major switch here. We said we went from just kind of concentrating on one idea to everybody bring your best idea, and we're going to pull that one idea together. And clearly, when we all present one idea and then we all present a different idea and then we pick the best of them, we have a difficult time losing. We are 4 for 4 so on this new format, with our lowest return only being 49%. So if we're giving this to you for free, what's going to be behind? What are you going to learn on Wednesday? Right. All right. So yet again, join me, Andrew, and Hannah J. Sellner on Thursday to join to learn all about the cash collision. All right. So there's kind of Andrew and Mai's opening thoughts. We're going to get to Alicia's charts here in just 1 second. Hans, any additional takeaways on this market?
Well, it is a barn burner, and I'm trying to think of as you start to think more like a pro, you're trying to think of what is going to get this market sold off at this point. And so on State of the Market on Friday, I talked at length about how bearish everyone was. Even in that rally, we saw a lot of outflows out of stocks. Of course, we've seen the foreign outflows as well, foreign investors dumping US stocks. And there was one chart that I showed everyone, and I said it was the AAII sentiment. And we've seen 11 straight weeks of 50% of respondents being negative on the market. Now, to put that in perspective, we haven't seen anything even close to that since about 1989. And this is significantly higher than even that number in 1989. So I think the thing to take away, and I said, listen, fundamentals, okay. Tariff wars continue, hurt the economy, et cetera. We'll see. I'm generally positive. I thought Trump was going to eventually sort things out. It happened a little faster than we thought. And I think that changes everything, right? I think in general, you just have had so many people on one side of the boat in terms of bearishness that if we start to see that recycle back in, some of those people on the sidelines or out or wherever start to cycle back in, that can create a nice bid. So I think that's where we're at. We've sort of compressed this timeline of, people sort of figured, well, this deal was going to take a few months. Okay, looks like it's not going to take that long. So that's supportive of the economy. I think that's a positive. And now maybe the market can start to look to better times ahead and tax benefits and regulatory benefits, et cetera, et cetera. Now, can talks fall apart? Well, sure, anything can happen. But for now, I'm in the camp. I'm in Andrew's camp. I think probably the VIX, this is a big move. The VIX shouldn't get crushed too much on realized volatility, but it's probably going to get crushed on the fact that what's there to worry about at this point? Hopefully I'm not simplifying it too much, but that's kind of where I see things at this point. Too much bearishness, people start to get back into the market.
Mm-hmm. All right, now let's flip over to Alicia, because obviously this kind of move, what you do can provide so much guidance, because your charting goes back layers, short-term periods versus long-term periods, and can really give us good levels. And of course, we're right up against one of your levels. So Alicia, why don't you share us? This is called a pitchfork, and it is a kind of a range and level finder that uses previous highs and lows to set targets. So Alicia, why don't you kind of walk us through what you're seeing here? You're muted.
Thanks, Mark. I hope you were all reading Profits and Pumps this weekend. I gave you all my evidence on why to be bullish, and it turned out to be right. Yes, SPX right up to the top of the channel. That's our resistance. Now you want to watch it close above or below 58.21, 58.22. Generally, when you get a gap, you got to wait a day or two, maintain that gap, and you'll go continue in the same direction. And this is bullish. Let me show you ES. ES, I talked about that 57.31 level over the weekend. That I said we needed to close above there. And sure enough, look at ES popped, opened right here, right? But then look at it, traded down and revisited that 57.31. Put that line in on your chart. Now on ES, we're testing this resistance up here, 58.32.25. I think we may wallow around up here a little bit. Little resistance. It lines up fairly well with these highs in March. I think we take a little bit of a breather here and then continue higher, kind of like what Bitcoin's doing. I do want to point out before I get to my stock, gold. Gold's trading right down to the bottom of the pitchfork. Bounce there this morning. So watch that level, 32.12, 32.13. Watch for this to become a change in trend candle and get a little confirmation tomorrow. And gold may, bounce from here. It hit the support and bounced this morning. Possibly they may want gold again still. Now, as Vicky has just said, it's a 90-day pause, right? Have they, is it may not be over, right? It's over temporarily, but.
Yeah, it's just a matter of whether negotiations continue to be constructive.
But during that 90 days, we have plenty of time to rally.
Yeah, indeed we do. Especially with these, with different trade deals and news drops, things like that.
Exactly.
And especially if I'm interested to see what ends up happening with this budget. So, Alicia, what stock did you want to throw out to present
I
to us?
wrote about Triple M.
Yes.
It's already made a major move, but when we one of the rules of the support resistance level is you zoom through here, accelerate through here, close beyond it. A lot of times you may revisit. So 148.60 tomorrow, we may revisit that area. It might be an opportunity to buy and carry it up to the top of the pitchfork or these previous highs, 158.64 to I'm sorry, that wasn't 158, 153, and then 155 half. Yeah, say 155. That's what I'll be watching.
All right. Hans, we can flip back to my screen. You were looking at NVIDIA.
Yeah, so we talked about it on State of the Market a little bit on Friday, and I've kind of got this sort of, bearish Google, long NVIDIA play, with the idea being, NVIDIA kind of wins no matter what, in a way, because they're the picks and shovels maker. They don't care what you do with their products. I mean, they want you to be successful to some extent, so you keep buying them, but it's about, people, Google is still trying to sort out a big mess. NVIDIA is just going to keep selling these things to everyone. So I like it. I think we're looking at hundreds of billions of these GPUs needed over the next decades. I think things are starting to turn around. One of the things I like to see is that sort of volatility levels compressing in the semiconductor index. I like to see that. That starts to put interesting plays on the board for me in terms of playing upside and also income trades, where we're starting to see that MTI start to shape up a little bit. And so that's kind of an area. I don't know if I'd swing out into AMDs and some of the other names, maybe Broadcom, but I kind of like NVIDIA being the leader in that space, not exceptionally expensive, and one that, pretty far off the highs. So I think that's an interesting play. So we did a little trade where we kind of bought some Google puts and bought some NVIDIA puts. So I'm excited to see how that plays out over some time.
And you've got for those unaware, MTI stands for the market temperature indicator. It's Hans's proprietary indicator that comes with turbo income. Yeah, I mean, NVIDIA vol not that expensive, and you're right. There is, I mean, it's not even over its 200-day moving average.
Yeah, it's got some
so
room.
That's one that does have plenty of room to recover. So Andrew, you were interested in energy.
Yeah, look at what they did to all the energy stocks. Like, so just pull up Exxon just as an example. With market is coming back now, all of a sudden everybody's like, wait a minute. Without a recession, maybe people buy oil again. Oh my gosh. Because I think the market was pricing, oil recession, sadness, gnashing of teeth. So I like pricing in, Exxon, APA, Chevron, Oxy.
Yeah,
Just
Oxy's the
crazy
one
cheap calls. Crazy
Oxy's
cheap.
the one I'm kind of honing in on.
It all depends on the China-UF tariff situation, but I have a feeling that,
oil may not go negative now.
I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see a little bit of a run there. So you say it's not that we're even driving more, Jose. It's just,
most energy use is industrial, right? It's either, you've got like freight, powering stuff, that's where all that comes from. Jet fuel. Oil is not just gasoline.
No.
Although, obviously gasoline is
it is still a, growing global economies. I don't know. I was at the airport this weekend. I didn't see any recession anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the places where there is some recession apparently is California West Coast area. There's apparently definitely some slowing, and then Washington D.C. obviously ground to a halt when everyone thought they were going to get fired. So there are a couple of tiny pockets of serious recession, and then
airport hamburgers are still 50.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I enjoy not eating at the airport. I just avoid anything.
Yeah.
Now,
all right.
maybe
So, Andrew, I was honing in on Occidental. So I like Leisha's idea a lot, but with the big move that we've already seen in Triple M, I think that's one of those wait 3 days, then think about it, then play with it. Hans's NVIDIA idea, again, great idea. I'm with him. I believe it does have more upside, but NVIDIA is so high beta with the market. That's one I would again wait a day or two and then look at it. If I was really kind of nervous, I would buy call. If I was nervous about a follow through pop and I was looking to get into NVIDIA, what I would do is I would say, okay, I'm going to wait a couple of days, but I'll buy a cheap out of the money call that expires on Friday. So that way, if we get like a follow-up explosion over the next couple of days, that my cheap calls that expire on Friday will start picking up. You can do the same thing in 3M. But what I like about the energy side is that still really down on the year. Occidental year over year is down 30%. Now, Warren Buffett's retiring. Maybe that, does it lose some love from Berkshire? My guess is no. I mean, it looks just, it looks like it's finally just even starting to come out of it. So, most of the market has recovered if you look at SPX, all right. S&P 500 has recovered, most of the selling all the way back to just kind of the beginning of March, right? We had this initial nice selling in Feb. And then, that's kind of where we've gone to before all the tariff stuff started to shake out. Oxy, on the other hand, hasn't even picked up to where it was at the beginning of April. So, if we get this big shock and then, there's kind of a rebalance and the rest of the market catches up, like in energy, there is some real there. I think Oxy has some real upside. And one more stock chart thingy. Premiums are extremely reasonable. We're back to about where it normally hangs out. Movement's actually increasing as vol is coming off. A lot of good reasons. Earnings are over. I want to go and, it's only the 40. Wow, we can go. These calls are not expensive. Next earnings cycle is in June. The July 45 calls with the stock trading 44.44. Looks like they want to call Glenn Lerner. Oh, no, that'd be 22.22. Sorry. But I'm looking at these Oxy July 45 calls and, thinking those look like a nice buy for $2.10. Leisha, just real quick, do you have an Oxy pitchfork?
I
Make sure I'm
do.
not walking into anything.
I do. In fact, I recommended Oxy last week.
Oh, well, there you go.
We didn't make a trade though,
But,
because the weekend was very, it was hard to add trades.
Yeah.
Going into the talks. But yeah, close the gap here. I have a little resistance, up against tier 44.80. Next level 46.92, and I think 50 half is your target.
Yeah, and with the premiums not that bad. I mean, they're letting me buy a 2.5 month call for less than 5% of the value of the stock. And the call itself is less than how much Occidental is up today. Just to put that in perspective.
The The 200-day is at 49.67. So there's your
There's my
target.
Yeah, I mean,
and you just popped over the 50-day, which is nice. That could be your stop loss there, 43.37.
43.37 stop loss. I mean, the HER, the 10-day HER, with HER standing for how much it's moving, $1.53, and you're going to sell me a 2-month call for 210. Okay, thank you. I'll do that. All right, so I'm going to put this trade in our portfolio here in a second. Once again, I want to keep an eye on Triple M, keep an eye on NVIDIA, and join me, Andrew, and Hannah on Wednesday to learn about this cash collision between Andrew and volatility. When Andrew and volatility collide, it creates cash. Click the link and join us on Wednesday. We're gonna reveal a ton of information, and we always make it worth your time. So click that link. So for Leisha J. Leslie, our Queen of the Candles, otherwise known as the Queen, Hans Albrecht, our Imperial Overlord of Income, and Andrew Chi Giovinazzi, the Viking of Volatility, and of course, that bulb. I am Mark Sebastian, your only option. I hope you have a good one.